When you're stuck in survival mode, creativity can feel like a luxury you simply don't have time for. But what if it's actually something your nervous system needs to help it heal? In today's episode, we sit down with Elizabeth Peterson, an elementary school teacher, author, and education consultant. And we talk about how creativity can help regulate your nervous system and reconnect you with yourself, your joy, and your purpose. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. Welcome back to Practical Solutions for PTSD. I'm going to get through my part pretty quickly because we've got an amazing interview with you today with Elizabeth Peterson. I want you to have plenty of time to listen to her and absorb all her amazing wisdom. But I did want to remind you that if you are interested in working on boundaries, we've been talking a lot about boundaries. And if this is something you want to investigate a little bit more, you can go onto my website and download a free copy of a boundary setting worksheet. Just go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/podcast. There's a banner right at the top. Just click on that button, fill out the information, and we'll get that to you right away. And you can start working on boundaries yourself. This is a really simple 7-step process that walks you through why you need to set them, some phrases that you can use to help you communicate those boundaries and to stick to them. So just go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/podcast and download your free copy today. We have a special guest today, Elizabeth Peterson. She is an elementary school teacher, author, education consultant, and founder of the Inspired Classroom. With 27 years of classroom experience and still teaching today, she understands the challenges educators face when burnout begins to overshadow the joy of teaching. She is also the host of Enjoy Teaching Again podcast, ranked among the top 2.5% of podcasts globally. Through her Reset framework, Elizabeth helps teachers create calmer, more connected classrooms while rediscovering the passion and purpose that brought them into education. And today she's going to be talking to us about the impact of creativity on trauma and how it can help you reset your nervous system and help your system heal from trauma and reconnect with that joy and passion that you would like to experience in your everyday life. So sit back and enjoy this amazing conversation with Elizabeth. All right, Elizabeth, I am so happy to have you here today. I have been looking forward to this since we were in P2P together and hearing you talk about bringing creativity to the classroom. And I knew you'd be the person to bring on board to talk to my people about how creativity can impact trauma symptoms and, dealing with all that. Because in my own journey, it really helped me because, it's different parts of the brain do different things. And so when I'd get really stressed out over problem solving and my brain would just be fried, I would pick up adult coloring or reading or something creative, and I literally could feel the pressure lifting from my brain. And
Oh, that's so good.
yes, and the impact it had on my healing. I'm like, I've got to bring this to my people so they understand that creativity, how important it is to healing from trauma. So I'm super excited to have you here today. Before we jump into our interview, I want to give you just a minute to tell the audience who you are, what brought you to this point.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Lori. I know we had that connection because we kind of have some parallels in the work that we're doing.
Yes.
And, my focus is on teachers because I'm a teacher myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've been teaching I'm finishing off my 27th year.
Oh, wow.
Just this past month. And yeah, so I have spent 20 of those years working with teachers, giving workshops and courses and retreats. And it's become just so rewarding to be able to watch teachers just come alive and bring so much joy and life back to themselves in their teaching through my focus in arts integration and creativity. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about this. And yeah, so we met in P2P. So I do have a podcast, Enjoy Teaching Again, because what I have found is that I attract a lot of experienced and veteran teachers
Right.
who have just been in it for so many years. And now they're at this point where they need that little bit more spark. They need that little like reinvigoration because they're starting to feel the weight of the years that they've been teaching, the changes in their students, and, just all of that kind of can lead to the burnout. So, yeah, so we have a lot of things that we can talk about.
Yes. Yes. I'm very interested. And there's some folks in the audience I know that are teachers, some of them are homeschoolers. But anything that you're doing like that, you get to the point you're just tired and exhausted with doing this,
Mm,
and trying to bring fresh perspective will be a really huge help, and how arts can do that for you. So a lot of
yeah.
times when you talk about art, people automatically think, an artist, obviously, singers, painters, writers, something like this. But how do you define creativity, and why is it important for everyone, including those that are not artistically minded? How does it help everybody with trauma or stress?
To talk about, first of all, this idea of chronic stress, anxiety, trauma, it's like you visualize almost this like weighted blanket that just covers and bogs us down. And this can be the busy day-to-day, busyness of life, which can
Mhm.
just take our creativity away, right? But this kind of chronic stress, it can truly take your power away and your desire to do some good things for ourselves. Being creative is good. And that's
Yes.
why it can be such a good place to find that connection within yourself and with other people. And, so often when people hear the word creativity, they tie it to like the fine arts, right? Like poetry, painting,
Yes.
sculpting, making music. And that is all of those things. But creativity is also the smaller things, the drawing, the doodling, the coloring that you mentioned earlier, singing to the radio,
Mhm.
humming along, doing crafting things, cooking and baking, like even decorating your home. Those are parts of our creative selves that we can do. Enjoying art, reading and visualizing a story as you're, sitting and stillness. Just like there's so many ways that we can be creative that we don't want to box ourselves in, right? We are all creative in our own way. So what I would say to a person who is a little hesitant, maybe, what is something that you enjoy? And that may lead you to your creative outlet, right? It doesn't have to look like an art or a craft. It could be how you like to walk a trail or how you like to look at the clouds in the sky. And it's kind of silly to think about, but I think the biggest thing that we need to consider about creativity when it comes to things like our nervous system is that we need to give ourselves permission to be creative and to find that part of ourselves. And honestly, sometimes that can be to just put our phones down and leave that anxiety box in a different room and go about our time in a way that really allows us to be and lets us have that space so that we can be grounded in something that's real and tangible and allows us to be creative.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, there's a couple key points in that, and one is to be present in the moment.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the other thing is to take in beauty in whatever way really triggers that inner joy within your heart, whatever triggers that, whether it be beauty in nature or beauty in a story or whatever it is, just absorbing beauty in one way or the other.
Absolutely. I think that's why, those coloring books were such a big hit, is
Mhm.
because it really forced so many people to just be creative, holding something real, coloring something real, right? And then we hear a lot about, just going out, taking your shoes off and putting your feet in the grass and just being in something real and being able to take in the things around us. So absolutely those two things.
And one thing I found for myself is when I was in like the benefit I got out of that when I was reading a story or doing adult coloring is it was much more effective if I actually read. Like I could listen to a book and it would help some, but not the same way that actually reading it did.
Mm-hmm.
I could look at beautiful pictures and it would help some, but not as much as coloring. So it was like engaging the mind in a different way on the creative side of life that really made a big difference for me as well.
Yeah,
Like completely
absolutely.
immersing myself in that.
Yeah, and as a little aside, even I'm even looking into more and more what we can do in the classroom to give students more opportunity to just put pencil to paper, as opposed to constantly being on their Chromebook typing up their essays. Like, there's so much value in them holding a writing utensil and doing the writing for themselves. So I think that that's really, I feel like a pendulum is kind of swinging in
Yes.
terms of that,
Yeah.
because it's just it's a much more human thing to be in that realness.
What happens to our creativity when we're stuck in survival mode? When you're in survival mode, you're going back to focusing on what's getting you one day at a time. And it can really affect, I know for me, like I didn't have the energy to put into being creative. And so you tend to disconnect from your hobbies or the interests that you'd had because you don't have the energy to invest in that. You're just trying to make sure you have food to eat. You're surviving the day and you just don't have the energy left over. What happens to creativity and all that? And is there a way that we can rescue it?
Yeah, I think what you said there with disconnecting, I think that's a big key piece to this, because you can disconnect. You can disconnect from others, you can disconnect from yourself, and that can be really a
Hmm.
scary thing. I think that's why so many people can actually get to a point where they become so disconnected that they almost feel unworthy of doing something creative, right? Or something that gives us joy. I've seen that in students. I've seen that in peers. I've seen that in teachers that I've worked with, where they get so overwhelmed and full of that chronic stress that they just, kind of lose that hope. That weighted blanket is just
Hmm.
so heavy. And I think that's why so many people do things like turn to our screens, to our phones, binging shows, because it kind of like
Hmm.
numbs the stress and it numbs that pain and it helps us pass the time away and it gives us that escape. But the reality is that doing those types of tasks, they keep us in that state of numbness and feeling like we're under that blanket where our brain thinks we're safe. But while that may feel safe in the moment, it's not
Right.
good. It's not good for us, right? It keeps us in that state of disconnection from other people, from ourselves, from God. And when that is what's happening in our bodies, what we really need is connection. Connection is going to be the antidote to that. And creative activities can very much help us come out of that state and into such a better way of
Right.
living, really.
And one thing you said that really struck a bell with me was when they feel that they're unworthy to take part in creativity. I know it's
Mm,
not a lot of times when I was at my lowest, it was, I have so many other things that are more important that I haven't gotten to yet. So like
yeah.
creativity became something that fell way down on the totem pole because I have to clean the house, I have to do the dishes, and I haven't had the energy to put my
Mm,
laundry away, and that's so much more important than being creative. Until I realized it was actually helping me be able to make it through the day. If I took time, like 15 minutes, it didn't take a long time, but just like 15 minutes to read a book or 15 minutes to, color or something would help bridge some, actually give me the energy to keep going.
yeah. Yes.
Research suggests that creative activities can calm the nervous system, which I've experienced this myself, and I've already mentioned that, or I could actually relieve the stress on the
Mm,
brain and I could feel it, physically feel that. It can also improve your emotional well-being. So
mm.
do you have some practical, simple ways that people can use creativity as a tool and not necessarily as one of those things you have to be worthy for or the bonus activities, but this is a tool for helping them to be able
Yeah.
to manage their anxiety, their depression, to be able to break through some of that they might have not considered on their own.
Well, I think that it's a little bit of a process. First thing I would say is, first give yourself permission, step away from things that are distracting. Like, how I remember when I was have had young children, I would get the advice, well, the dishes are going to be there when you're done. So, they can just stay there. The vacuuming can be done another day. It's not going anywhere, right? Step away from some of those things and give yourself that permission to do that, right? step away from your screen, unless of course that's a true source, I should say, of creativity, because maybe, you're playing with digital art, or you're enjoying typing instead of handwriting, or enjoy making videos or
Yeah.
podcasts, like is one of my
Hmm.
creative outlets now. But if someone is really struggling with anxiety, we all know in our gut that stepping away from some of those day-to-day things and those screens is a good idea. And not only on things like social media that create anxiety, but the swiping and the binging and the playing games, it can be just like a
Hmm.
time suck. Um, I personally had to remove Facebook and YouTube from my phone so I wouldn't get sucked into the reels and the
Yes.
shorts, right? And that alone can be so freeing. So just giving yourself permission to do that and step away and create a little space, and then go with what you enjoy, or something that you want to experiment with, with really no judgment. Maybe you want to pick that paintbrush back up. Maybe you want to plan a great meal for your family or try out a new recipe. Maybe you pick out a book and just allow your mind to really dive into the story. Or this one, a reminder for me, sit down at the piano and start playing something, even if it's really rough, tinkle around those ivories. But even if you just give yourself 5 minutes to doodle, 5 minutes to do something a little out of the ordinary, that's such a great start. You can even set a timer or something. And what that 5 minutes will do of something truly different and truly creative and enjoyable for you is it will re-spark the brain, and it will give your brain the signal that, ooh, we're doing something different. The brain loves
Yes.
novel
Yes.
things, right? And we can get stuck in our routines and our day to day, but that would be, something that would just wake that brain up. And then finally, I would suggest that maybe you do something with another person, right? Doing things with a family member or a friend. It has so much benefit, cooking together, or sign up for a paint night, or hit the local venue that plays live music, and or meet up for a walk in a different part of town. Again, creativity doesn't have to be connected to the arts. Sometimes it can just be relocating and then you're trying something new, because again, what will start happening is you're giving the brain something novel that needs to process
Mhm.
something new, and that's really just good for you.
I
So
really like that. It's triggered some thoughts in my own head.
yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, I can get so locked into I've got so much work to do and I have like this huge to-do list, and I
Mm,
need to be, I need to adult today and be responsible and do all this. But when I allow myself to take the time to just step away and take a walk at the
mm.
park or go garden for a little bit, or even like going to a new restaurant and enjoying the how they have it decorated, the ambience, and that would be a form of creativity, enjoying a new meal, a new recipe, whatever. I always feel better afterwards. Like my brain wakes up and like, oh, I have all these new ideas what I can do with my responsibilities. With all the work I have. It's like all these
Yeah.
new ideas pop up for how to manage that, and it really does unlock something in the brain when you do that. So
Yeah.
those are all really good ideas. It has me thinking.
Yeah, and it reinvigorates you too.
Yes.
We talk about how exhausted we are all the time,
Mhm.
but if you just do a little something new, it really does kind of refresh you.
It does. It does. All right. So for someone who feels emotionally exhausted, depressed, or overwhelmed, which you're going to have a lot of that in this audience, how can they begin reconnecting with creativity without turning into yet another thing I have to do?
Well, you could make it another thing you have to do. You could actually put it into your schedule.
Actually, I do like that idea. Like you're blocking out
Yeah.
time to take care of yourself through creativity.
Yeah, and again, it could just be those 5 minutes, 5 minutes of something you enjoy. I think that's the trick. I've done workshops with teachers, that we're talking about like
Hmm.
self-care, and it's not, you know, a prescribed set of tools for them. It's trying to pull out what is going to really be for them.
Hmm.
So, if you like movement, maybe it's 5 minutes of stretching in the morning, or, or walking, or, doodling, or, there's just so many different things you can do. And I think the biggest thing is trying to figure out what is going to be the good fit for you. And it could be, just listening to music or listening to a different genre of music that you don't normally do and reconnecting with their creativity. If you think back to when you were younger, what were some of the things that really sparked you? Like what were you kind of known for when you were a kid? Did you build with Legos? Like did you draw on your math book? Like what were some of the things that maybe you even kind of got in trouble with when you were in middle school and high school, but that was who you were inside, and that was where part of that creativity needed to come out. Maybe you were a talker and you just need to talk. So I mean, it really is about figuring out what fuels your inner flame almost, and then intentionally reconnecting with that. So again, giving yourself that permission to put aside some of those other things, finding that thing that really does bring you joy, even it was, searching back into your childhood. How about, and then inviting, another person to maybe even enjoy it with you.
I like that. Those are very good. So can you share an example of how creativity helps people process emotions, build resilience, or rediscover joy with after difficult experiences?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about this, and as I was thinking about what where our
Mhm.
conversation may go today, and I have some teacher stories actually. Now, I think it's important that people understand I'm not a therapist, right? So I'm a teacher, but in my years working with other teachers as a consultant, in the workshops and the courses and the retreats that I had given face to face and now online, I've worked with so many teachers who have been on that burnout pathway. They're exhausted. They're just truly exhausted. And it's been so helpful and so wonderful to see them express themselves in these workshops and realize some things in the process about some of the trauma that they were actually dealing with from
Mhm.
being in a classroom. I remember this one teacher, she was doing a drawing that depicted the state of her classroom. And she drew this chocolate chip cookie that had crumbs all around it. And then all these little ants chomping away at this cookie. And when she reflected on it in the group, she talked about how, as she was drawing it, she was realizing how much she felt like this cookie. And the ants were all of her students, and how she felt like they were just taking bits and pieces
Mm.
away from her. And it really helped her to name the emotions and to realize just how much this class was actually hurting her desire to teach. And it was really helpful for her to go through this creative process of making this drawing. And it was amazing to see how it almost it helped her to kind of like recalibrate so that she didn't totally burn out from that class. It was like, here's my issue. I've put it down on paper. I'm able to reflect on it in front of all of you. And now I'm coming to realize what is actually happening. And there's something to be said about when you can name what is really become the issue,
Oh yeah.
you can start moving from it.
Hmm.
That was so powerful. That was so long ago, and I remember it very distinctly how wonderfully and powerful that was for her.
Yeah, the first step in healing is admitting that you need to be helped. You have to name the
Yeah,
problem before you can fix it.
yeah, yeah. And there was another story. So this teacher learned so much about herself during one of our drumming circles. So when I was doing face-to-face PD, which I hope I get to do more of, in the next few years, but I would always make time for a drum circle. And there were often, a teacher or two who were just very hesitant to join in the drum circle. And for this particular group, it was a 5-day course. So we did a drum circle every day right after lunch. And this one teacher, she sat back for a while. She first listened, and then she took like the smallest little egg shaker she possibly could. But slowly, day by day, she decided to join, and she started to really get into the groove. And by the third or fourth day, something really amazing happened. And she just started crying. And she was realizing that how she felt, that uncertainty, that hesitation, the fear, was just like what some of her students felt when she would give them something new to do in her classroom. And that was so powerful for her because she had just been dealing with so much frustration with
Mhm.
some of her kids who were really having a hard time in her class. And
Mhm.
this gave her just a completely new perspective on the kids that were coming into her room. And I kept in touch with her because she worked in my district. I kept in touch with her months and years later, and she always talked about that drumming experience and how it totally changed how she was able to look at and help her students when they came in her room, because she knew that feeling
Mhm.
of not wanting to try something new and being so hesitant, and understanding the gentle way that I was able to kind of like help her to get into the drumming circle. And she said that was really a changing thing for her. So again, it's like that reflection piece is so important as you're going through some of these creative things, to be
Mhm.
able to really touch back and see what it is that's really making that meaning for you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, and I love how when you're using something creative, that it actually helps unlock the mind and open it to other areas of
Mm,
life. And I mean, you get similar benefits from gratitude, but this is another way of being able to do that and be able to help you to see things. And I've heard of other people taking, like when they had processed severe trauma, that they would do it through artwork and drawing that and getting the emotions on paper, even if they weren't like, very artistically talented. It didn't really matter. It wasn't really about the quality of the painting. It was the ability to express the emotions that were bottled up inside, and a way to do that that was nonverbal and still very powerful.
yes,
Um,
it really is. Yeah. Yeah. Something really can happen when you allow yourself to be creative and just go through the creative process.
mhm.
You really start to discover things about yourself and the world around you. Um, yeah. And it's been such a privilege to be able to do that with teachers through creativity in the arts. And
Yeah,
then they get to bring some of these great ideas and activities into their classroom too. So
that's really
win-win.
good. Yes, absolutely. Paying it forward.
Hmm.
As we're closing up today, I want to give you the opportunity to share with the audience some things that you have coming up that they can take advantage of, and how they can connect with you. If this rings a bell with them and they'd like to connect and learn more, how can they do that?
Absolutely. I would love that. So they can find me over at enjoyteachingagain.com, or just go and type that into your favorite way to listen to a podcast. That's the name of the podcast, Enjoy Teaching Again. And I also have a live challenge coming up very soon. Like I said, I like working with seasoned teachers and helping them to, well, reset their classroom, because a lot of the issues that we're seeing is student behavior and, classroom management strategies that just need to be reset for teachers. And
Mhm.
so I have a classroom reset challenge that's coming up. You can sign up for that if that's something that interests you at theinspiredclassroom.com/challenge. That's my website and blog that I've been doing since, I think, 2008. I've been at this for a while. Yeah, theinspiredclassroom.com. We've got all kinds of resources for teachers in terms of arts integration, creativity, social emotional learning, and just lots of resources over there.
That's wonderful. Do you have dates for the challenge yet?
Yeah, the challenge is going to be held July 21st through the 23rd. It's going to be live and online, and replays, of course, will be available if you can't attend the live sessions. It's going to be great. We're going to focus in on improving student behaviors and eliminating teacher burnout.
All right. So, folks, if you want to do that, just connect with her at, what's the place to get the information again?
Yes, theinspiredclassroom.com/challenge.
I was going to say it, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to say it because I'll screw it up.
Just in case.
I'm going to let Elizabeth say this. All right, folks, I highly recommend Elizabeth. She's an amazing lady, and she'll be able to help you out a lot. Lots of experience, both as teaching and helping teachers. So definitely connect with her. And thanks so much, Elizabeth, for coming by and helping us know that creativity not only is important in the classroom, but important in our everyday lives as we manage and overcome trauma or whatever that may be that we're struggling with, burnout, whatever it is. Creativity can really help us out and help us to heal. It can be part of one of the really important tools of healing. So thank you so much for coming by, Elizabeth. I look forward to a future collaboration.
Excellent. Thanks, Lori, for having me.
All the links that Elizabeth mentioned are in the show notes below. You can pop down there and find those. You will also find a link to the boundary setting worksheet. So go to the show notes below. You'll find all the links mentioned in the podcast, and we'll see you next time. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.